She lost both her sons in a single night, and when a young stranger entered her home, she finally began to feel alive again. But some desires come with a heavy price. On a peaceful island sits a quiet beach house, haunted not by ghosts but by grief. This is where Ted, a famous writer, lives with his emotionally distant wife Marion and their daughter Ruth. Their home's walls are covered in photographs of two boys, Tom and Tim. They were Ted and Marion's sons, until a tragic car accident took their lives years ago. Since then, everything has changed. Ted buried himself in his writing. Marion buried herself in sorrow. Their marriage has become nothing more than a polite arrangement. Ruth, too young to remember her brothers, still feels their absence. She stares at their photos in silence, piecing together a family that's quietly falling apart. Hoping to lighten his workload and avoid more tension, Ted hires a young assistant named Eddie. He's charming, hopeful, and full of dreams about becoming a great writer. He's also handsome. When Marion picks him up from the dock, something clicks between them, a quiet, undeniable spark. She hasn't felt anything in years, and this boy just lit a fire. Eddie arrives eager to prove himself. Ted shows him around the house, casually admitting that his marriage is in ruins. Marion moves into a hotel, needing space. Their love has faded into cold silence. At home, Eddie meets Ruth and Alice, the babysitter and part-time painter's model. Alice is beautiful, kind, and artistic, but Eddie's mind isn't on her. It's on Marion. One night, Eddie stares at Marion's photo and gives in to his desires. But just as he finishes, Ted and Ruth unexpectedly return home. He barely escapes being caught. The next day, Marion returns. Eddie finds her underwear, and once again, he loses control. But this time, Marion walks in. Eddie freezes, mortified, but to his surprise, Marion gently reassures him. "Everyone does this at your age," she says. Her voice isn't angry. It's kind. It's something he's never heard from anyone like her. Eddie, nervous but honest, admits, "I've been thinking about you ever since I saw you." Marion stays silent, shaken but not dismissive. Their bond only grows stronger. Marion invites Eddie to dinner. They talk for hours. She asks why he hasn't pursued Alice. He answers, "Because she doesn't look at me the way you do." The next morning, Marion enters his room. She shares the painful stories behind the pictures on the walls, memories of the sons she lost. That moment of vulnerability leads to a kiss and the start of something forbidden. They begin to see each other in secret. Eddie becomes Marion's escape from grief, and she becomes his dream. But secrets have short lives. One night, Ruth walks into Marion's room and sees her sitting too close to Eddie. She begins to cry. Marion comforts her, but the damage is done. The next day, Ted confronts Eddie in the car. His voice is calm, but he asks Eddie to testify against Marion in court, especially if they divorce. He wants custody of Ruth. Eddie is stunned. He later asks Marion, "Why are you still with him?" She answers softly, "Because he's a good father." But Ted isn't just a father. He's a man who once took nude photos of Marion for his art, not as a lover, as a subject. She was exposed both physically and emotionally for the world to see. The tension rises. Eddie asks Marion how her sons died. She falls silent, pain written all over her face. Later, Ruth accidentally breaks a framed photo and cuts her finger. Eddie and Marion rush her to the doctor. When Ted finds out, he explodes. "You can't even take care of her for one day," he shouts at Eddie. That night, Marion breaks down. She tells Eddie she's leaving for good, taking her son's photos, her pain, her past, everything. They make a plan. On Friday, Eddie will take Ted to Evelyn's house, a former painter who once worked with him and won't come back for him. While Ted's gone, Marianne will disappear without saying goodbye. Friday arrives. At Evelyn's, chaos erupts. She's furious. She destroys all the paintings Ted gave her. Ted is left stunned and alone. Meanwhile, Marion sends Ruth to the doctor with Eddie to keep her away from the house. At the photo shop, Eddie tries to retrieve a repaired picture of Marion and Ruth, but the manager refuses. So Eddie writes a letter, confessing everything. Marion's grief, their secret love, Ruth's need for that photo. The manager, moved by the story, hands the picture over. Eddie and Ruth return home. Ted is already there. But Marion is gone. No note, no warning, just gone, and the walls, once filled with her son's photographs, are empty. That night, Ted opens up. For the first time, he tells the whole story. The night their sons died, the entire family had been drinking. One of the boys, barely old enough to drive, took the wheel. The headlights were covered in snow. Ted had forgotten to clean them. They never saw the truck coming. Both boys died on the icy road. Marion never recovered. Ruth helped her survive, but nothing ever truly healed. Eddie listens, stunned. He finally understands the deep sadness that shaped this family. But one thing still doesn't make sense. How could Marion leave Ruth behind? Days pass. Evelyn's former maid shows up at Ted's door. She's been fired. Ted surprisingly hires her as Ruth's new babysitter. Her husband becomes the family's new driver. And Eddie? His role in this story is done. He says a quiet goodbye and walks away. Sometimes love arrives when it's too late. Sometimes healing means leaving, and sometimes the ones who save us have to walk away. Like the video? Show some love. Hit like, share it, and subscribe for more awesome recaps every week.